I'm the business advisor, and it is a Monday morning, day after Christmas. And let me tell you, in my house, it's cold because my heater, on one of the most cold storms that we have received in recent years, my heater decides to go out. So I'm waiting for the heater guy to come. I have a little floor heater on the floor trying to warm up my office here. But I tell you, it's cold. It's about 50 degrees, about 50 here in my office. And it's about 13 degrees outside. So it's cold. It's cold. My fingers are cold. My hands are cold. Everything's cold. Listen, I want to talk just a little bit about taxes. And so the first thing that I'm going to say, you have a week. From now until Friday, you have time to pick up your phone and call your tax practitioner and ask him, what do you need to do to reduce your tax liability for 2022? You have that time now. You have that ability. So pick up the phone. In fact, you may even be off. Pick up the phone and call your tax practitioner and ask some questions. What's going to happen for 2022? Well, one of the things that's going to happen is don't expect a big refund this year. It's just not going to happen. And the reason why, what happened in 2021? You got some tax stuff, right? You got some stimulus money that came along with your tax returns. 2022, there's nothing. Zero, zilcho. So your tax refunds are not going to be very high. We're going to go back to normal. We're going to go back. In fact, there's some less deductions that you're going to be able to take this year. So that's what I'm saying. You need to talk to your tax practitioner and see if you need to put a little bit more money in your 401k plan or into your IRA plan or whatever you have to see if there's something there that you can deduct. See, when it's cold, it affects my coughing. And so I apologize for that. I'm not trying to be rude. That's just part of nature. But again, your tax refunds are not going to be as big because you're not getting the stimulus money, the free money that you've been getting all this time for the last 2 years. It's gone. So all you have is your standard deductions. If you're itemizing, if you can get up to that threshold that goes over that standard deduction amount, then you're doing okay. But find out what you can do to reduce your tax liability this year. And that can help you on your finances also, if you want to look at that. Yes, and taxes is a bummer. I know it's one of those things. I don't want to hear about this the last year of the year. Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to because it's important that you do. It's important that you be proactive on your tax filing and your tax reporting. Now, that's the other thing is I need to talk to you if you own a business. Make sure you're in compliance with all the rules and regulations that are out there. I know there's so many. If your accountant's doing it, make sure he's doing it for you. If you have somebody else that's helping you inside your business, make sure that they're doing it. Once you get out of compliance, it costs. You got all those fees and penalties and everything else, especially when you get late in your payroll taxes. That is not a fun situation to be in. So make sure that you are in compliance because, listen, things are changing. In this new stimulus package but this new spending package of $1.7 trillion that both Democrats and Republicans voted for, there's some new taxes in there. And it's going to hit small business because it's small business driven. So you are going to have to think about just a little bit of that too. It's no fun to be out of compliance. And I work on keeping companies complying every day with all the rules and regulations. And there are tons of them. And I don't know how many of you are in California and you haven't complied with training your employees on sexual harassment within the office. You're supposed to be doing that. In fact, the state of California even has a website out there that helps you get everybody in compliance. But you're required to do that. If you're not, you could be faced with some stiff fines. So you have to make sure. And make sure that all of your payroll stuff is in compliance also. If you need to have an I-9 on your employees, if you need to have W-2s on employees, make sure you have all of your payroll records in compliance and recorded correctly. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, for you in small business, and you may have an LLC or a C Corp or something like that. Now, when you form your company, you were supposed to form a corporate book or an LLC book. And in that book, it has all the bylaws, all the things that you have voted on, and opening up bank accounts and changing out attorneys and changing out accounts. You're all supposed to record all those decision-making process throughout the year in your corporate book. Now, let me tell you what happens if you get sued. And if you don't have a corporate book, your cloak of protection is gone. It's gone. It's vanished because you didn't remain in compliance. Make sure you get those corporate books out at the end of this year and you start reviewing them. If you need help, just let me know. I can do it for you. But you need to get that done. If you want to have your LLC cloak of protection there for you, you got to have your books in compliance. They have to be updated. What decision making have you done throughout the year? And you may not have done any, but you still need to have that memorandum in that book to show what you have and have not done. When you go into court and you go into depositions, the first thing that the opposing side is going to ask for is, let me see your corporate book. And in that corporate book, it shows how you were formed, what type of entity you are, what decisions you have made throughout the year, who is required to be in charge of the tax reporting, etc., who owns what, and the list goes on. It's very important that you have that book. It's a corporate book. It's a big black book. It has your stamp in it. Everything's stamped. Everything's signed by the officers. Everybody has voted on stuff or have shown that they've voted on stuff. If you don't have that, and that attorney sees that you don't have it, you're no longer a corporation. You're no longer an LLC. Your cloak of protection is gone. Make sure you're in compliance. So what have we talked about this morning? Well, it's the year end. We only have a week left, so we've got some stuff to do. One, you need to start talking to your tax practitioner. Start going over the new tax rules that's going to affect you or your business. If you are a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLC, what are your reporting requirements? What does the accountant need? What do you need to change? What, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many questions that you need to be asking, especially on the new tax rules and reporting rules. You just need to be understanding of what's going on. If you don't know what's going on your tax return, you're in big trouble. And I know it's very difficult because that's a complicated thing. That's why when they're asking for Trump's tax returns, they don't know what to look at. This guy has hundreds of corporations all around the world, and everything's reporting into certain sectors, but on his individual return, you'll never see any of that stuff. You're not going to see his personal loans to Russia, if that's what they're looking for. You'll never see it because it's not going to be there. A business, a corporation, LLC, are lives of their own. Sometimes they get reported into the personal income tax, and sometimes they don't because they're standalone corporations. Congress doesn't get to see that. So they don't know what the business transactions are going in on those companies. So it's a waste of time. What Congress is doing is just a political nonsense, and they're not going anywhere. It's just nonsense. And when they talk about audits, listen, audits happen every year on these big corporations. Sometimes the auditor will make a decision not to audit for that particular year. Sometimes the auditor will come in and say, okay, I'm looking at 2008, but I also want to look at 2009 and I want to look at 2007. So I'm opening up those tax years. They can do that. And I had them do it on some of my clients. Well, they want to look at that. And then it might be a couple of years. It could be a couple of years. Stupid cough, it disrupts me. But it will happen again because corporations are a big money maker when it comes to audits. So if you have a company, if you own a corporation or an LLC, make sure that you are in compliance with your record keeping, with your corporate books. Make sure that everything is in compliance and you're running it as a corporation or an LLC or an S-Corp or whatever you are. Make sure that you are in compliance. You got a week until 2023. So you have some time to sit down during the quiet time and say, okay, what do we need to do? Ask the questions that need to be asked. If you have questions, you can, excuse me, you can book some time with me. And you can do it by just going to my website. It's listed down in the body of this podcast. And you can book some time with me and I can try and answer the questions that you may have. Who knew that 2022 was going to go by so fast, right? Who knew? Who knew that the Senate and the Congress would vote on $1.7 trillion of added spending to this country, raising inflation, spending money on programs that are wasteful? Why do we need to study excuse me, why do we need to study the spawning habits of salmon? Haven't we looked at that enough? I think that the farmers out there that are looking at salmon and fish and everything else, they know the habits. Why are we looking at it again? Next we'll be looking at their sex lives. Next we'll be looking at how they date. I don't know. Well, it's something stupid. We're always spending money on stupid things. And that $1.7 trillion spending bill has a lot of nonsense in it. And it is funding a lot of these groups who are attacking our freedom of speech. It's funding these organizations who are attacking our liberties, our freedoms, and the ability to speak freely. It's amazing, isn't it? This country has gotten screwed up very quickly, and now we need to clean house. And we need to get going and making sure that we're not spending these trillions and trillions of dollars every single year. Those senators that voted for the spending package, tell them that you're not happy. Congress people, we're not happy with you. Tell them, confront them. They're going to be home. They're going to be doing little meetings in your districts. Tell them how you feel and tell them it's not acceptable and that we don't want it anymore. Let's just listen to some music because I'm fed up on this Monday. I'm cold. I have no heat. I'm coughing like crazy. Everybody go out and have. I hope you had a great holiday, a great Christmas, and that you were blessed. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.